Okay, so I almost didn't finish this artwork. Actually, I didn't think this was gonna work. And that's because this is like one of the first times I'm actually creating an art piece from literally no sketches. Like, it's not necessarily the first time, but it's the first time in a while that I've created an art piece without sketching. I have started becoming infatuated with art references that are literally depictions of people's lives. Sort of catching people in the midst of, whatever they're doing. In this piece, I used the reference of a girl literally writing, and hence, the name of this piece, which is literally writing session. I love writing. It helps. It's another creative form or way for me to, express myself. And so that's why I was drawn to this reference. I've been trying to focus a lot on lighting and obviously making everything look realistic. So just like shadow, colors, I want to get the colors right a lot just so that it doesn't look funky when I'm exporting it or whatever. I know that ultimately sometimes artwork looks weird when you constantly export it into different formats or platforms, and sometimes it looks saturated, sometimes it looks desaturated or grainy and all this other stuff, which is kind of annoying, but you work with what you have, and I really don't have that big of an issue or problem when I'm trying to do that. Anyway, I was so scared of making this piece because of how much space there is in it. I wanted to scrap it so many times because I didn't want to have to finish it. And that's like literally the story for maybe every artist out there. I don't know, I really couldn't sit with the idea of just working on this piece for such a long time. But it was like a love-hate relationship. I didn't want to finish it, but at the same time I wanted to see how far I could go. And obviously that one in the end, that curiosity, one of the things that lifted a very heavy weight off my shoulders is this idea that I have to make everything look exactly as it does in the reference image. I think the main point of like being an artist and like having your own style is the fact that it doesn't look exactly like your reference images. And so I've been playing around with that a lot. I've been seeing what I want to keep as far as detail, what do I want to take away, what do I want to be more abstract and interesting and kind of like my statement. I'm still trying to identify exactly what my statement could be. The number one thing that I notice with myself, as you might also see in my process, is that I love immediately getting information down on the canvas, on the paper or whatever. It just makes me feel a lot more calm and less anxious about putting information down, basically. So I think I really enjoy, as you guys will see now, the process of blocking everything in to a certain extent. I think that like blocking everything in could be really fun. Okay, so let me explain. My thought process, I become infatuated with a specific aspect of a reference, right? In this case, I was really into just like, capturing this person doing this thing that is very mundane and normal or whatever, but it's so aesthetic. There are colors and shadows and things like that that set up this, or the reference that I saw, to make it so appealing to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I really want to do this. And what I try to do with my references is I try to make it so that the reference isn't perfect. There are imperfections. And I think that relieves me of trying to make a perfect piece of art, right? So, sometimes my references are kind of grainy, or you can't see certain things, or it looks very interesting conceptually or visually, aesthetically. More so, I'm thinking of like vintage images or images taken off of Polaroid, or stuff like that. Um, Images that look really nice because of like obviously the lighting setup and things like that, and objects or whatever, but it may not be like pristine. I don't really care about all that. I think what makes my artwork really successful personally is the fact that there are details within a reference that I can assume. And I think that's another thing that people really don't notice mostly, especially when they put so much pressure on themselves to make something look so realistic, is that ironically, when creating realism, that kind of artwork, it's not really about painting, drawing everything, right? It's about making implications. It's about illusion. And that's essential when it comes to, especially the beginning processes of making an artwork. You have to be more willing to let things go and like remind yourself of, oh, I'm just going to go back and paint over that or whatever. And that's especially how we have to approach digital artwork, because it's a very useful resource, and it has a lot of features that can benefit us, especially like in terms of like going back to erase something, or you don't get a lot of smudges, you don't have stuff all over your hands, which argumentatively I miss that. But at the same time, this is what I have right now. You have to let yourself make mistakes, and you have to you have to allow yourself make miscalculations and things. That's kind of the point, right? You want to put something down so then you have something to work with. It's not putting down something perfectly. And so that's kind of what I experiment with my process, and also fundamentally the end of my practice period where I have the final piece ready. It's more so about making a mark and a story, if you will. I think art becomes interesting and valuable when there's a story being told. And if everything is perfectly calculated and you make no mistakes, then there is no story. And I think about how it's kind of ironic that I want to create my own sort of influence, but at the same time, I want to have a perfect practice, a perfect period, a perfect session. And that kind of defeats the purpose, right? So I just started slapping stuff on the canvas. I just started making marks. I knew that at the end, everything wouldn't look perfect. And I embraced that. In the beginning, you guys saw me just make figurines and smudges and things like that could be representative of each of the figures that I saw in my painting. Even at the end of the video, you guys will see I didn't fully render everything that I saw. I just focused on what was visually aesthetic to me and what was enough information, and also creating my own story, despite having an apparent reference. What do I want to focus on? How much detail do I want each different subject to have in my painting? How do I want the lighting to be? Do I want the lighting to be the same? And then also, how can I, again, make my mark? I think for me personally, I have always been interested and infatuated with, people as figures of pieces of art. Specifically for my artwork, obviously. So I focused more on the central figure of the piece, which is the young lady that is writing. And everything else, I kind of just did based on intuition and how I felt. There was a lot of things on the table in the initial reference, but I didn't include every single thing, there's just objects on there. And yeah. But I think ultimately I find lighting so interesting and fun. This like idea that you can easily create something with playing with lighting, and that's really how we're able to see depth and perspective and things like that. That's what makes things dimensional, and I think I wanted to focus more on that. I think I want that to be the focus of my artwork, is that sort of illusion. So yeah, that's why I didn't do sketches. I think anyway with sketches, it kind of messes me up because I'm a perfectionist and I don't allow myself to just jump into my flow state because I'm so particular about like what my sketch is entailing. So then when I turn off the sketch layer, everything looks so weird, and it's like now it was like more so like the sketch was in the way rather than it helping me render. I think like I just need to put down symbolic representations of things from the references I use instead of trying to replicate the reference in a way through a sketch, which is so funny because I love sketching, but it just doesn't help me when it comes to realism for some reason. In terms of mistakes, I feel like I didn't really make a mistake, and that's another thing about not sketching, not using a sketch beforehand and just going into it with color, I guess that's how you would say, maybe just using mark making as proportional understanding and things. And that's another thing, not everything in this artwork is probably proportional. I really don't care, as long as it looks like it makes sense. I'm totally fine with that. But also, I think what's cool about kind of just jumping into it and like knowing that you're going to just go over marks that you've already made, and like now you got a mark over a mark over a mark over a mark, is that is representational of you actually trying to pinpoint proportion and where you want things to go. So like that recalculation is actually bringing you closer to the result that you want in terms of like proportion or placement and things like that. So it sounds counterintuitive, but if you think about it, it's just making calculations over again and not trying to force yourself to not trying to already see things before they are, if that makes sense. I think there's an easier way to say that, but here we are. So I guess like going into some tips that I would just say jump into it, man. I feel like I could read so many tips and tricks on creating like realism. I don't even think I like to call this realism really. I feel like I'm going towards a contemporary kind of thing, but also kind of realism, but it's also just like it's like psychological, philosophical to me in a way. I don't know. I see this artwork overall as me coming into myself and understanding what my process is, or if my process is even consistent, because I don't think it's gonna be, honestly. I think I might approach each of my pieces a different way, which I think is great for content because you guys won't get bored and I won't either. But I guess my main tip is just to like jump into it and don't worry about proportions or placement. Just allow yourself to make mistakes and then go over those mistakes, and then you'll see how everything will come into play. But I guess also in addition to that, like make sure that you start off kind of like what I showed you guys in the beginning of this piece. I made sure to like make the canvas small and then start putting down I like to call them implications or like impressions, little splotches on the canvas to represent certain figures. You don't have to make perfect like shapes or impressions on your canvas, just enough so that it's like representational and that you can remember it, because it's mainly for you, for your understanding of how you're going to create the piece, rather than like, I don't know, for the basis of perfectionism or something. I don't know. I don't know how to explain that. And so yeah, that's my main tip really. I don't have any other tips. I can't give you tips on color because I kind of I just wing it, honestly. I don't even compare colors. I just go by what I see. If I don't like what I see, I go over it again with a different color. So yeah, I feel like I don't want to be afraid of making artwork anymore. I don't know if there's any other artists out there that kind of feel the same way when it comes to what they practice. I feel like I've had a complicated relationship with art for quite a moment, and I never fully understood it because it's like something that I do. I think it's like, I don't know, it's like having a bunch of tools but not exactly knowing what you want to create with them. Like there's so many different things that you could potentially do, but finding your mark, yeah, I guess that's a way of putting it. Like finding your mark and your means of creation is really complicated. I think creating a sense of purpose, I guess, in a way, as an artist, because people already find value in you like being capable of making artwork. But for you, I feel like, or us, it's like more of a complicated thing, right? Because you could do something and it's not complicated for you to do, at least for people who've been doing this for a really long time. Or maybe you don't feel like that, but, just let me know, or write down some of that down in the comments. But I just feel like I've done a lot of things and I can do a lot of things and I'm capable, but at the same time it's more than just being able to do it. It's like, what do you do with it? I feel like it's kind of like an instance of like being a nepotism baby. Like you have all this money and you have these connections and things, and I guess in the case like with me, maybe a little bit actually that this is the case, but you have all of these things that you can use and this kind of privilege, and people are expecting you to do great things, and you're like, I still don't know. It's been over 20 years and I still don't really have an idea. And it's honestly kind of embarrassing. It's just like, wow, like I'm really good at it and I don't know what to do with it. Like I think initially people thought that being naturally gifted was like the best thing ever, right? LOL, me calling myself naturally gifted. But I've been doing this for like since I was like 3 years old, and everybody is just so in awe of the fact that like this kid could just automatically do this thing for whatever reason, never taught, nothing. And I think, going back to what I was saying, it's great, honestly, but at the same time there's a loss of understanding of like what the skill means. You lose the capacity to see this as something that you've worked really hard on and it's a part of your identity. I feel like because it's like something that I do naturally, it's kind of hard to identify it within my identity because it's something I do automatically. And let me know if that makes sense. But like, going back to like the idea of being a nepotism child, I don't think most kids who are from wealthy families understand that their wealth is something valuable in this world. It's just something that they have. It's not something that is necessarily like they can understand fully why being wealthy is such a commodity. Like, it's just something that they are. And so when people expect for them to be interesting or for them to be, I don't know, like well dressed or fashionable or, all these things because they have money, it's confusing likely to them because they don't affiliate being wealthy with those aspects of their identity because they've never really had to. And they don't really understand, certain aspects of their personality or whatever and the way that they think of life in association to money because they've never had to build a relationship in between any personal aspect of their life with being financially well off. It was just something that was always there. And I hope that's something that is easy to understand. But yeah, I think like a nepotism baby, I've just started realizing like, wow, I have this skill and most people wish that they had the skill, and I should find a way to utilize this and not take it for granted, and find a way for it to be able to thrive within my life. And since it is of value, not just to other people, but I think also to me too, I enjoy it a lot and I want to nurture and care for it. I think it's something that can benefit me, but it also can help others. And I think that's also, how people think about others with money. Like, you can help people. And so I'm trying to find that path of helping myself and other people too at the same time. And so maybe making artwork and stuff like this and having these videos where I talk about my process and what's going on could help somebody and start painting or drawing or usually doing visual artwork and stuff like that, because I do feel insecure when I do this. And I think also it's the same as how wealthy people feel insecure about their money. You can definitely still feel insecure about something that you do well, but I also feel like that sometimes that insecurity helps you learn how to feel more comfortable, and sometimes that insecurity is representational of the fact that you're insecure about it because you don't really have an established placement for that thing in your life. Like, usually when people are insecure about something, it's because they're unsure of it and they don't really understand how to apply it, and they don't really know that they can access it all the time in a way. And that's how I kind of felt about my art. I feel like I could easily make a crappy piece of art. And so I had to go into, why do I feel that way? And like, do I feel like that because I think the quality of my art is actually bad, or is it because my process isn't exactly strong, or is it because I don't have my own personal art style? So when I make artwork, it's so hard for me to sometimes start and sometimes finish it. And there's nothing I really go for when I make a piece, which is literally what I was experiencing. There was nothing I was really focusing on. There wasn't anything, not necessarily that I was trying to say, but what do I see and what do I want other people to see, basically. And I feel like this piece of art is really important to me because it's the start of establishing my own sense of art and understanding of it and my enjoyment of it, and my process, and kind of making the statement I can finish whenever I want. And it's really liberating to allow myself to feel that way. So yeah, I'm actually really happy about how this turned out. especially in terms of lighting. I think this is great with lighting. I don't know, it just excites me a lot because I think I'm getting closer to how I want to light things up. I kind of want to become more intentional with lighting, and make it more of like a personal kind of stylization. But I think this is really nice. Let me know what you think, or even what I should draw next.